Hello, everyone from Chelsea Fan TV. Hope you're all doing very well, guys. Well, as well as you can do. Those of you who watched the Villa City game. Just can't believe it. Can't believe it. That could be so important in this top four race. That will be important. And a draw would have been perfect for us. I'm absolutely gutted. Gutted. Yeah. Big up to everyone that's watching. Subscribe, like the video if you haven't already. Got about 18, 25 people in here. Let's smash that like button. It all helps because we didn't get help from Nottingham Forest. We didn't get help from City or Villa. Not ideal. Not ideal. But we're here and we're going to be going through all of the latest Chelsea news. If you haven't watched the video I did regarding some of the latest news on Mykhailo Mudryk, also spoke about Christopher Nkunku, Liam Delap, Carney Chukwuemeka, as well as a couple of other things. So if you do want some of the latest, that's about a 15-minute video. Go and check that out. I uploaded that a number of hours ago. This video is going to be about Vivid Seats. And we're also going to be talking about the financial situation Chelsea are in. There's been another article that's come out from The Athletic. So if you're interested in the finances of Chelsea and the situation or how the club's able to apparently still spend loads of money this summer on top of the scandal that is Vivid Seats, everybody knows that it's a conflict of interest, a clear problem, which still hasn't been addressed by Todd Boehly or Chelsea. There's been a little bit of an update on that as well. So that's what we're going to be speaking about today. Big up to everyone. Hope you're doing well, Jay. Hope you're doing well, Daniel. Jordan. Patrick, good to see you, mate. We just have to win all that we can. I mean, that's absolutely true. But the question is, how many can we win? That's something totally different, isn't it? Yeah, we needed a draw. Absolutely right. Still no update on Mudryk in that sense, Robbie. But listen, if you want more information, go and I'm not going to be talking too much about Mudryk. Maybe at the end if I have time. Today is all about Vivid Seats and the financial situation of Chelsea. But I did make a video about Mudryk, so go and check it out if you want to see that. Yeah, really disappointing result, Gemma. Good to see you, Philip. I hope you're doing well. Josh, good to see you in the chat as well. Poi says, is there any point in spending money if they're going to spend it incorrectly? It's a fair point. Yusuf, good to see you, mate. He says, if we beat Everton, we are fourth. City did us a favour today, in my opinion. How did they do us a favour? Would have been great. You got to think that now only, 3 points have been dropped by Villa, but you could have had more points dropped around the board. And the best result in that scenario is always a draw. So I don't see how they've done us a favour. I don't see that at all. Not ideal. Not ideal. Tom, good to see you. Amir, good to see you. Alex, serious question. Do you still like me because another Chelsea streamer told me to F off? Who told you that? It's not very nice, is it? Of course I like you, Amir. Always happy to have you on the stream, mate. And see you at the games as well sometimes. Which streamer said that? It's not very good. Fucking hell. Thought you'd have some people would have a little bit of common courtesy. Rain, we're going to be talking about Vivid Seats, mate, and everything to do with the financial situation. That's what we're going to do. Again, Martin, I don't know why you think that's great for us. I don't see why is it great for City to win? I'm not really sure I understand that. Anyway, we'll see. Yeah, let's go straight into it. First of all, guys, we've got over 60 of you in here. Smash the like button if you haven't already. I want to get straight up to 50 likes. All right, straight up to 50 likes on here. Let me know in the chat how many likes we do have. Let's get straight up there. I always end up waiting until the end of the video, and by that point, it's too late. So I thought, let's start early, get them up quickly, and then we don't have to worry too much about it. Smash that like button, guys. Get straight in there. And again, with the Vivid Seats update, we're going to dive straight into that. We are going to dive straight into it. This came out from Sky News not long ago, within the past sort of 24 hours, saying Chelsea fans condemn unethical ticket resale site which the club chairman invests in. So let's get straight into it, guys. Only 13 likes. My goodness. Let's get a bit higher than that. Come on, people. Anyway, you can run it up while we watch Vivid Seats.
Out and speaking out. Fan anger spreading in the Premier League. At Manchester City forcing a freeze on the cost of tickets. But they're still calling for change at Tottenham Hotspur. And at Chelsea demanding action over inflated prices on a ticket exchange website with links to one of the owners, Todd Boehly.
It's a disgrace. It's an absolute disgrace. It's the 21st century greed, unfortunately, isn't it?
It doesn't look too good on the Chelsea and their owners, to be fair.
True supporters don't get to see the game anymore. We're full of tourists.
It's 3 years since Mr. Boehly was part of the buyout of Chelsea from Roman Abramovich. The American was already a director and investor in Vivid Seats, the online marketplace selling Stamford Bridge tickets way over face value.
For the upcoming match against Liverpool, fans can't buy any regular tickets from Chelsea. But on Vivid Seats, on one day last week, we found tickets the club prices at a maximum £80, being sold from £537 to £2,666.
Can I just say, like, that is appalling. The general admission prices on, Chelsea's website, or whatever you want to call it, £80 for tickets, and they will resell those tickets that are worth £80 for anything from £537 to £2,666. Like, oh my God. I mean, let me figure out the maths here. A 10x would be 800. Plus 800. I mean, some of these tickets are being sold for 20 times the value of the actual ticket itself. 20 times. I mean, £2,666 is actually more than 20 times the value of £80. And we struggle. And this is not just a problem for people to be able to access tickets, because everybody deserves to watch the games. I'm not discriminating against tourists, although I do think there's a real argument for, there to be, separate seating. Not separate seating, that's the wrong word. But like when you go in Matthew Harding and the Shed, for example, two of the areas where a lot of the noise comes from at Stamford Bridge, and you see tourists, you do think, like, why did you sit here? Like, you could have sat anywhere in this stadium, and you're sitting where that is where the atmosphere needs to happen. Yeah, if you're in the East Stand, if you're in the West Stand, it's like, we kind of know that's what happens, isn't it? You get a lot of tourists in those seats, and those are the more expensive seats anyway. If someone's paying like 500 quid as well for, let's just say, a ticket in Matthew Harding, now that's poor. Give you an idea, season tickets for home games in the Premier League for myself is around £45-50 a game. And to think that some people are paying 10-20 times that, each game is extortionate. That's bad. Anyway, let's keep going.
and these can be traders selling them. Vivid told Sky News their policy restricts the sale and marketing of Premier League tickets in the UK. Listings of them could be seen here a week ago. We filmed this outside Chelsea with prices in pounds. After we pressed for comment, those listings were no longer visible here. But Vivid said it was factually incorrect anything changed, insisting validation protocols restrict marketing tickets in the UK. And the company told us Premier League tickets will still be sold overseas.
All around Stamford Bridge, fans are presented with these signs telling them not to buy tickets from touts. But the Chelsea Supporters Trust has written to the Premier League to say that all these efforts are undermined by Todd Boehly, and Vivid Seats is even listed on the Premier League's website as an unauthorised ticket reseller. And fans are told to act with extreme caution if dealing with the site.
But ticket exchanges enable these fans to come from abroad.
We got it through reselling sites. Yeah. Otherwise, it's quite difficult to get tickets if you're not a member.
I asked if you queue up like I used to, pay a fiver, but no.
And how much have you paid them for the ticket?
Oh, go on. It's about an arm and a leg, half my pension. They're 300 quid, mate.
£300.
Secondary ticketing sites are in the sights of MPs with potential legislation.
It's an unregulated market. It's like the Wild West. It needs getting back into control. It just seems completely counterintuitive that there are people deliberately make a killing and fleece loyal fans who've supported these clubs for decades.
He shouldn't be involved in Chelsea and a reselling website. It's unethical.
Vivid Seats told Sky News it respectfully adheres to the laws that are in place in the United Kingdom and is not in violation of any regulations around EPL tickets, adding, it is important to note that Vivid Seats does not set the base price for tickets sold on its marketplace or receive any revenue from that base price. Only the seller sets and receives the base ticket price.
Very important information there,
supporters...
guys. Very important information. It is important to note that Vivid Seats does not set the base price for tickets sold on its marketplace or receive any revenue from that base price. Only the seller sets and receives the base ticket price. I want to make sure there's no confusion. So, I mean, if there's any opinions in the chat, like genuinely that can help us sort of understand this together, I'm more than happy to hear it. When they're talking about base prices, I mean, are they saying that's the face value of the ticket, or are they saying that that is just the price that is set on Vivid Seats? Because if the ticket's worth £80, but they're selling it on Vivid Seats for 800, is £80 the base price, or is £800 the base price? So what is the base price for these tickets? Like, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page here, because it makes sense, but I want to really understand what I'm seeing here, what I'm reading. I want to make sure that everybody really gets this, because maybe this is a case of, yeah, I'm confused as well. I'm a little bit confused. Important to note that Vivid Seats does not set the base price for tickets. So Chelsea set the base price. Vivid Seat do not set that. Chelsea set that. And yes, Chelsea set the price, not Vivid Seats. They list it on Vivid Seats, like eBay, Amazon. I think that's a good example. Yes. Jay, I think that is saying that Vivid Seats doesn't sell the tickets. It's just a website that people can sell tickets through. But then how do Vivid Seats make their money? Like, what's the model of Vivid Seats? How do Vivid Seats make their Yeah, yeah, Chelsea will make the money then, or is that? Am I talking shit? Right, making money with ticket reselling.
Hey all, Jen here from Frugal for Less. Thanks so much for stopping by today and watching. In today's video, we're going to be going over a review of Vivid Seats, and we'll show you how you can make money with ticket reselling. Let's get started. What exactly is Vivid Seats? Well, this online marketplace is the place to help you buy and resell your event tickets. They offer a variety of different event tickets, including tickets to sports events, concerts, plays, and shows. Now, what's the experience of buying tickets online? You'll enjoy peace of mind in your ticket purchase, convenience, ease, and they really work to put the focus back on helping you to enjoy the live event. What's their 100% buyer guarantee?
Yeah, like I'll be honest, we can't watch that whole video. Like we've got more important things to. But I think so you seem to know what you're talking about. Vivid Seats primarily generates revenue by charging fees on ticket sales, acting as a middleman between buyers and sellers in a secondary ticket marketplace. They take a commission on each ticket sale. So again, the seller creates the price. Chelsea choose the price, not Vivid Seats. So we obviously get the majority, Chelsea, of the profits as well. But Vivid Seats share a part of those profits. And in Todd Boehly's case, he is directly involved in everything there. So all of that money, quote unquote, goes in his pocket, bearing in mind he owns Chelsea and also owns Vivid Seats.
And receives the base ticket price.
The Chelsea Supporters Trust complains Todd Boehly has not engaged with their request to discuss the issue, so they're hoping the Premier League investigates and intervenes. Rob Harris, Sky News, Stamford Bridge.
Fucking hell. I don't care what JD Vance is saying. That's not important right now. Well, yes, I guess you're right in that sense. But I presume a lot of the tickets are being sold through Chelsea. I think that's the issue, isn't it? Chelsea withholding tickets that go on Vivid Seats. So it's not the individual that's selling them. It's the club. But individuals can sell tickets on Vivid Seats. Absolutely. We're on 40 likes, guys. Let's get up to 60 likes. Smash the like button if you haven't already. Just think about it like this. By the end of this video, the amount of likes we're on is the amount of money that Chelsea are going to spend in the market. So if you only want us to spend 40 million, that will cover Delap. Maybe a cheap centre-back from Brazil who's about 15 years old. Then stay where you are. If you want a big market, smash that like button. But yeah, it's not good that Vivid Seats are involved. That absolutely needs to change. No, it's not a good look at all, is it? Because he could easily address this, communicate with the fan base, and he's choosing not to do it. And that's never going to be a good thing, is it? You want an open communication with the club. You want the club to communicate with the fans. But we're not saying that we don't need to hear a speech. Just like cut your ties with them or relinquish control of something to do. Like get rid of the conflict and then there won't be a problem. There's a clear conflict of interest. Martin says, in the individual person selling the tickets. I think the answer is yes, but I also think the answer is no. I think it's both. Because tickets were withheld for certain Chelsea games. This is when we first discovered Vivid Seats with Johnny and Eunice. These were tickets that weren't even on sale on Chelsea's on Chelsea's website, but you can get them on Vivid Seats. So that's telling you that the club are withholding tickets for Vivid Seats, which I think is a huge problem. So I do think there's individuals doing that. I'm not saying there isn't, but I think the club are involved in it to an extent, or facilitating it. I think that's a real problem. Again, I might be slightly wrong, but that's the impression that I've got. So on the FAQs, they take a minimum of a 10% commission. So that means they could potentially take more commission on certain things as well. Jay says, Alex, I'm telling you, Chelsea, leave the tickets wide open early for scalpers to use automation to buy up as many as possible, then flip for crazy prices. It's happening everywhere, just like PS5s. Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. So that's the Vivid Seats update. Okay. Good to see that Sky have reported that. It's been a while coming, to be fair. I mean, they did take their time, but it happened in the end, and we can be happy with that, can't we? So yes, that's the situation. Now we've had another interesting, very interesting article, which I say it's really interesting. I haven't actually read it yet because I quite like reading and reacting at the same time. It's not the same if I've already read it. So I like reading it with you and reacting with you. And it's all to do with Chelsea's remarkable finances and why they can keep spending. If you're not subscribed to The Athletic, well, honestly, I mean, if you watch this channel regularly, I'd say probably don't subscribe because I fucking share half the articles. But yeah, so worth a subscription in that sense. But if you don't watch the channel that much, then I'd recommend subscribing because then you can just read it on your own accord. You got Iqbal, you got Boehly in there as well. It is quite a lengthy article. There's a lot of information on there, but we're going to go through it. So smash that like button and let's go through it. Chris Weatherspoon wrote this. It came out late last night, I think. It was updated this morning though. So here we go. So Chris Weatherspoon has been appointed as the first dedicated football finance writer. He's a chartered accountant who will be using his professional acumen as the bookkeeper to explore the money behind the game. This week, we are publishing his second series, analysing the financial health of some of the Premier League's biggest clubs. Well, I like this. I know people say, oh, just talk about football, but does it not intrigue you seeing what's happening behind the scenes? Understanding the ins and outs of whether your club are in the mud financially or not, because that's ultimately going to affect what's on the pitch at some point. So big up to Chris Weatherspoon, although we haven't actually read anything yet. Okay. Conjure up... You know what? Before I read this, I need a glass of water. Just give me a second. Just give me 1 minute. I'm going to get a quick glass of water. I'm going to definitely need... I'm back. It's a long one, so yeah, I think I'm going to need a drink in between every now and again. Apologies for the delay. Okay, conjure up memories of Chelsea's most notable moments over the past couple of years, and chances are actual football will be thin on the ground. Their first Premier League season in the post-Roman Abramovich era was notable only for how poor it was. A 12th place finish in 2023, marking their worst league position in 29 years. Last season was improved, with Cole Palmer showing his class and Maurizio Pochettino guiding the club to 6th. and a return to European football, even if it came in the guise of the Conference League. A goal 2 minutes from the end of extra time then resigned them to a Carabao Cup runners-up spot, yet it still seemed a distinctly underwhelming season on the pitch. More likely to spring to mind are the events off the field. Abramovich's 19 years at the helm came to an abrupt end in spring of 2022, a consequence of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, with Abramovich sanctioned for his close ties to Russian President Vladimir Putin, and Chelsea forced to operate under special measures. The arrival of new owners brought an apparent departure from the past, out with the oligarch and in with private equity. And, well, we've seen what private equity is like so far, guys. So let me know in the chat. Do you prefer the oligarch or the private equity? I think we can all agree on the answer there. Into Stamford Bridge came a consortium fronted by Todd Boehly, a minority shareholder in the Major League Baseball LA Dodgers, alongside Clearlake Capital Group LP, a private equity firm also based out of LA. The price for taking Chelsea from Abramovich's sanctioned hands was a cool $2.536 billion, alongside a commitment to invest a further $1.75 billion in the club's infrastructure in the future. Events since have been dizzying. Champions League winning manager Thomas Tuchel lasted just over 3 months under the new regime, and Boehly and Clearlake are already onto their third permanent head coach since the German departed. More than $1 billion has been spent on assembling the most expensive squad in the history of football. Creativity in the back office has outshone it on the pitch. Chelsea's accountants have devised several headline-grabbing ways to at least try to circumvent football's existing financial strictures. Meanwhile, Boehly and Begdad Iqbali, Clearlake's co-founder, have gone through a well-publicized rift that led to each other's side of the consortium exploring all options. Of this in less than 3 years of ownership. The release of the club's 23-24 accounts at the beginning of April brought yet more headlines. So we did actually go through that. This time it was a confirmation of the sum for which Chelsea's owners had sold the club's women's team to, in effect, themselves. Chelsea Football Club Women Limited was removed under the umbrella of the men's team, bought by fellow group company Blueco 22 Midco Limited for $200 million. The profit that followed was $198.7 million, pushed Chelsea from another big loss to a £128.4 million pre-tax profit. The paper transaction was widely viewed as a way of swerving around the Premier League's profit and sustainability rules, which is otherwise known as PSR, coming on the back of the club selling 2 hotels and a car park to another group entity in 2023. Once again, Chelsea were making more headlines off the field than on it. So what do Chelsea's recent financials look like, and what's their PSR position? So this is a financial, this is the snapshot of the financials. All non-percentage values are presented in millions. Okay. So we can see our revenue went down by 9% from 2023 to 2024. Our operating loss went down by 2%. Our profit went up by 243% because of the sale of the women's team. Our wages were cut by 16%. Our wages to revenue went down. What? Oh, okay. Went down by 7%, which means that, again, like we know, Iqbali is obviously a huge advocate of the Brighton model, which is having, was it 10% of the revenue covered on wages, 10 to 20%, something like that. So 78% down to 72. Wouldn't be surprised if we tried to get that down to 60 by next season. Quite easy as well, actually, to do that by getting rid of Sterling, Ben Chilwell, and Kunku. These are all higher earners in the team. Very, very plausible. Anyway, our net spent went down by 33% and our gross debt went up by 108%. Yeah, the reason the revenue's gone down is quite obvious because of no Champions League football. But we still spent an awful lot of money. I mean, 365 million is, in the grand scheme of things, still a lot. But it was 33% than we had done before. And our debt went from 146 million up to 303 million, our gross debt. Let's see what you guys are saying as well. Sorry, I don't want to miss out anyone. Was it easier to get tickets under Abramovich? What changed? Vivid seats, maybe? I don't know. Maybe that became more of a problem. I'm not actually entirely sure. Maybe this is a question for those of you who get tickets consistently through the club off the website. Yeah, I'll let you answer that in the chat. Hey, big up to Lewis. You've all been. Lewis definitely told you to say "potch out." Oh, definitely. Lewis definitely said that to everyone. But fair enough. I respect it. So, oh goodness. There we go. Got another one. Go on, Richard. Representing. Is that it? Only 3 potch outs? Fucking hell. I thought you'd do better than that. We got more. Oh, there you go. Kevry Clo. I got one. By the way, every argument I seem to have with people about Maresca, people bring it back to Pochettino. Why does it have to be about Poch? Why can't we just talk about the situation we have at the moment and the manager that we have at the moment? What everybody else wants to bring it back? You know what? I'm done with it. It's out of my head. It's out of my control. Would we have been better off with Pochettino? I think there's probably a good chance we still, we would have done better in the FA Cup, the Carabao Cup. Probably be seeing, a different system. Who knows? Maybe even Petrovic would still be in goal. Like, these are all things that, could have changed. But I don't know. Ultimately, we've got Maresca. I'm not happy with him. Not a fan of him. It is what it is. You can't have it all in life, guys, can you? You can't have it all. And I agree with you, Jay. Nobody wanted Poch. And I was actually in that camp. I didn't want him. But he came and I thought, give the guy a chance. And I think he did enough to keep his job. Will Maresca do enough to keep his job? I ask you that. The bare minimum. Champions League football and the Conference League. If Maresca does those 2 things, I hold my hands up and I will schedule a video or whatever you want, a stream, the cooking of Alex, where I will sit there and just let Lewis say what he needs to say. And I haven't got a problem with it. And by the way, people think that I don't want us to succeed just because we've got Maresca. Like, I would love us to be in the Champions League. We're becoming irrelevant by the year every time we're not in the Champions League. I want us to be relevant as a club. I want us to be a fucking powerhouse again. But I mean, I'm not really seeing much power on the sideline when I look at our manager, if I'm being totally honest. Jordan, I didn't mention it. They did. So I'm happy not to speak about it. But when people want to ask me, what am I supposed to say? There you go. Right. So let's get into it again. For those of you who have just jumped in, we've been speaking about Vivid Seats. We've also been doing a deep dive into the financials of Chelsea. So we've been talking about what's going to happen with Vivid Seats, the situation there. Sky actually reported about Vivid Seats yesterday. We watched that video, and now we're just literally going in on the financial side. So why are Chelsea still going to be able to spend loads of money in the summer, according to the Athletic? So this is some of the numbers we've got in front of us at the moment. Anyway, let's continue. Chelsea's official line on the women's team sale was more commendable than a mere PSR swerve. Chelsea women was to be repositioned so that it sits alongside rather than beneath the men's team. The club had, through market analysis and discussions with investors, determined there is a strong desire for an opportunity to invest solely in the women's game. Either way, shifting the women's team after the 76.5 million profit booked on those property sales in 22-23 meant most ignored the apparently noble aims of the repositioning. In selling it for £200 million, Chelsea had accidentally or otherwise made their women's team one of the most valuable on earth. Only Angel City FC sold for $250 million, £190 million in September last year, come anywhere close. But I would argue, I mean, I don't know why Angel City FC are worth whatever they were worth. I don't know why that is the case, but we do have arguably one of the best women's team in world football. So if you're valuing that high, I know the actual value of Chelsea women is about 20 million, but in terms of what you see on the pitch and the success that we've had, it's a very good team. So I mean, we're not. It's not like you're West Ham selling the women's team for 200 million. I mean, this is Chelsea at the end of the day. Like, we do have a top women's team. In turn, the women's team sale served to ensure Chelsea complied with the Premier League's PSR last season. In combination with the previous year's property sales, the club has now booked £275.2 million in profit from selling assets to companies within its wider ownership structure. Each of the transactions took place at the end of their respective Junes, mere days before Chelsea's accounting deadline. The football finance equivalent of pulling the ripcord just before you're about to clatter into a tree. So basically, for those of you who are not understanding what's happening, we were fucked, and we sold the women's team, and we unfucked ourselves. Don't really know how else to say it. We were in a pretty bad situation, and we got ourselves out of it. Call it loopholes, call it whatever you want. It worked. So there you go. Those transactions made for a soft landing in the Premier League regulations do nothing to stop clubs including intra-group sales in their PSR calculations. That's a natural byproduct of letting the clubs dictate the rules, with no one wanting to vote against their own self-interest, lest they need to plough such fertile ground into the future. A look at the raw numbers suggests Chelsea didn't actually need anywhere near the 198.7 million profit the women's team sale enabled them to book, accepting they'd already been allowed to record the property sales from June 2023. Chelsea's pre-tax losses in the 2022-24 PSR cycle would have totaled 281.8 million without the Chelsea women's sale. So basically, we've been extra safe. And we could have still sold the women's team. We didn't have to sell it for that much, though. But better to be safe than sorry. There you go. WSL champions. Love to see it. That's in some way above their allowed PSR loss of 105 million over 3 years. But the amount doesn't take into account the deductions Chelsea can make for allowable expenditure. Crucially, for a club of Chelsea's stature, such deductions are significant. Depreciation and amortization of non-player fixed assets was 43.5 million over the cycle, while they also spent 41.4 million on the women's team in the same cycle. So amortization is, if I'm not wrong, paying off. I just want to make sure I'm pretty sure that's paying off the fees for players we'd already signed, but they had longer. It's like payment play. Yes, it's when you spread the payments over, so accounting term for the spreading of payments over multiple periods. So that's what amortization is. So that would have been basically a lot of the players that we've signed, your Mudriks, all of those guys, where you haven't agreed to pay the transfer over a year, you've agreed to pay over 5 years or 7 years or whatever it is. So that's where the amortization comes from. They also spent 41.4 million on the women's team in the same period. So that's quite a big investment into the women's team. Expenditure on youth and community development is harder to determine because few clubs release this, but information elsewhere is instructive. Aston Villa spent 19.7 million and 7.2 million respectively on those areas in 2023-24, and Chelsea's spending was likely in the same ballpark. In terms of the academy, it's probable Chelsea spent beyond Villa's 20 million. Even if we only tether Chelsea's figures to Villa's and taper down as little as we go further back in time, we still wind up with deductions of around £74 million. So I'm guessing that's how much they invested in total. What does that mean, deductions of 74 million? Does anyone know what that means? Let me continue. Maybe it'll make a little bit more sense. Based on the £281.8 million pre-tax loss without selling Chelsea Women, the club needed £176.8 million in allowable costs to hit their PSR limit. Tot the above 4 types of expenditure up, and you're at 158 million of allowable costs, not the level Chelsea needed. Right, so we needed 176 and we were on 158 million, but less than 20 million shy. So in other words, even if the Premier League decide the 200 million valuation of the women's team doesn't meet their fair market value assessment, the chances of them downgrading the transaction to the extent it pushes Chelsea's PSR breach is remote. Okay, so there's a good chance the Premier League won't tinker with it. I don't know, to be honest with you. Not really much to say about that. Spreading payments is not amortization. I just looked it up, mate. Amortization. Accounting term for the spreading of payments over multiple periods. It's literally what amortization is. I looked it up. Do I think if Chelsea can't win this year's Conference League title, Maresca should leave? If Maresca can't get Champions League football and win the Conference League, I'm still Maresca out. Yes. If he gets Champions League and wins the Conference League, then I will retract. I will retract that statement. So I'm all for Maresca being successful and pushing forward with Chelsea and developing Chelsea. But again, when I say these things, they're not just words. You have to see development. You have to feel it. And the more things I speak about, the more I could say I don't like than what I do like. I'm not a big fan of the style of play. I'm not a fan of the way he utilizes our players. I'm not a fan of his CV. I don't like his attitude. I think his press conferences are quite poor, the way he reacts. I don't think he has a connection with match-going fans. I don't think his style is a beneficial style to have for any type of match-going fans to create an atmosphere. So when we talk about dire atmospheres, I think actually, forget Chelsea fans, just look at football fans in general, especially in England. They respond to good football, energetic football, positive football. And I think Maresca's style is the opposite of that at times. I think it's very passive. I think it can be perceived as negative. When it works, it works. And there's no doubt about that. But you need better players for it to work on a consistent basis. So Lewis is very much of the argument that you need to back Maresca, give him a decent striker, give him better centre-backs. Better players basically. And I'm all for that. And I think maybe we could have been in a different situation with Osman, and we would have never been in this scenario because we could finish our chances. We look at Palmer's stats. He's been very creative. And people go, well, it's not Maresca's fault that people can't finish their chances. But then I would go, why are we asking Palmer to be a creator when there isn't anyone to bury the chances? Get Palmer to score the goals, and then you don't have the problem. And you could free up a number 10 spot, and you would have never had these problems with Nkunku, João Felix, or even Chukwuemeka. I would love to have Chukwuemeka back in this team. Love Chucky. Don't think it's going to happen, but I would love it. There you go. So, show the bigger figures above, Alex. Can you share the links to the financial statements? The text is just additional information. What? Oh, you said that 6 minute figures above. This is the financial snapshot. I'm not sure what you're getting at here. That is spreading asset value. Payments are cash flow. Well, I would certainly not define it using Maresca's style of football. That's for certain. I mean that's a no-brainer. Jesus. And again, like, I'm not saying that, I'm not saying you can't appreciate that type of football. I'm guessing that you probably don't go to the games. But a lot of the match-going fans, like pretty much all of them, don't enjoy watching it. Like, we didn't feel like this last season. I didn't feel like this. I didn't feel like it. And I'm not saying that's the sole reason why I'm not appreciating football this season. But like last season, I was extremely entertained. I had ups, I had massive downs. There was some really bad days and there was some good days. But I don't know. I really don't know. Ultimately, it's about results, isn't it? And you're absolutely right. Players were up for it more. I'm not even blaming it on the players. I'm not even blaming a lack of effort, to be fair. Like, I've never been on the side of, the players aren't playing for Maresca. I've never been on that side. I believe the players are trying. I really do. Maybe not Nkunku, but all of them are trying. I just think the instructions they're given are not helping. Match-going fans have the privilege of getting behind the team on match days. We're privileged to watch Chelsea, yes, but it's a privilege because it's supposed to be entertaining. If it's not entertaining, then it's boring. If it's not boring, then you're thinking, why did I spend this money? Like, ultimately, you go to football to be entertained, not to watch your team win. Winning is a bonus. I'm lucky I support Chelsea, a club that win a lot in my lifetime, at least. And if I was a Tottenham fan, I'd want to just support a team that I'd want to watch my team play good football. Like, I will always appreciate Tottenham fans not wanting to see the Mourinhos, the Contes, because they don't win. They don't win. Chelsea, we're different because we've won, and you accept that you're going to play, unattractive football, but you're going to pick up trophies and win league titles and win Champions Leagues and Club World Cups and Super Cups and constantly get to domestic finals and all that stuff. We are not doing that under Clearlake. So actually, I would argue that playing better football, more attractive football, is more of a priority now than it's ever been. Because I don't see Chelsea pushing for league titles. I don't see Chelsea becoming a winning machine that we were under Abramovich. I don't see it. If you see it, fair enough. I'm not shitting on your opinion. It's fine. We can all disagree. But The reality is that we have been taken over by owners who do not run this football club for footballing purposes. They run this club for financial reasons. And if you can't see that, it's not a problem, because I don't need to prove it to you. They will prove it to you later down the line. You will see that in a year. You might see it in 2 years. You might see it in 2033 when Clearlake want to sell the club. Because remember, Boehly and Feliciano are not shareholders in Chelsea Football Club. Clearlake are shareholders. They are a slave to their investors. At least Boehly owns his own fucking shares. Like his consortium, what's that? 38% of the club. Like that's their shares. Mark Walter, Hansi Viss, Jonathan Goldstein is involved in that. And obviously you've got Todd Boehly. Clearlake Capital own the rest, not Boehly, not Feliciano. They manage other people's money, ultimately. That they manage their money. So they are a slave to their investors. Their only priority is to get a return for their investors. And, I hope this article can prove it. I don't actually think they're talking too much about it. I think they're just talking about the fact that we can spend money this summer, but we'll get into it. Anyway, I don't want to waste too much time talking about it, but I respect your opinion. I respect your opinion. I'm not one of those people who's going to shit on fans who don't go to games or can't go to games. There are instances where I do think to myself, like, do you not understand why we're angry? Like, we're not supposed to be happy when we're losing to Fulham away, and they're going to do the double over us, the first time ever. I don't see why you're supposed to smile about that. But we did get behind the team, even at 1-0 down. Second half, we were on fire, the away section. But it depends on the day, doesn't it? It depends. You have good days, you have bad days. Okay. Chelsea selling assets to fellow group companies didn't just ensure past PSR compliance, it's given them huge headroom going forward. You've got pre-intra group sale assets, pre-tax result, and the estimated PSR result. So is that, this is low, this is going up. Right, so yeah, so this is 21, 22, 22, 23, 23, 24. So that is where we look a little bit more, oh God, we look great in PSR in that sense. Actually made a profit in 23, 24, everything else we lost money. So the hotels, the sale of Chelsea Women's has obviously helped massively with that. If Chelsea's actions to date have done little to bolster the Premier League's claims it can govern itself responsibly, the bad news for the league is their impact will be felt for a while yet, because PSR losses are assessed over a 3-year cycle. The whopping profit Chelsea booked last season won't be confined to one moment in time. Consider Chelsea made a 128.4 million pre-tax profit before accounting for any allowable expenditure, and their PSR result for 23-24 looks decidedly rosy. By our fairly conservative estimate, Chelsea's PSR result last season was 191 million in the black. That chunky positive result doesn't help their 22 to 24 PSR cycle. That's obviously the 3 years. It will be included in both this and next season's calculations soon. So there is a... oh, okay, I see. Right. So that will be moved on to the next 2 cycles. I see. There is a chance that the result will be downgraded. As mentioned, the Premier League is still assessing whether the women's team sale constituted fair market value and could reduce the gain Chelsea recognised. Such an impairment has already taken place in respect of 22-23's property sales. The Premier League decreed Chelsea should have recognised 6 million less in profit on those sales, a deduction the club have been allowed to record in the current 24-25 season rather than retrospectively. Even so, the size of the positive swing last season leaves them sitting pretty. from a Premier League PSR position. By our estimate, Chelsea could lose 300 million this season and remain compliant. They won't, but it's just as well they do have that headroom because the club is expected to make a return to huge losses this year. Such violent fluctuations in fortunes underline the juggling act the club now have to oversee across PSR cycles. Come 26-27, last season's huge profit will drop out of Chelsea's calculation, swinging their PSR position in the opposite direction. Where Chelsea's domestic overseers have been largely acquiescent to their accounting ingenuity, the same can't be said abroad. UEFA's rules preclude asset sales to sister companies, so that immediately wipes out the 275.2 million in gains over the past 2 seasons. We've heard about this before, and I think there was a fine that PSG incurred to do with that. Basically not meeting UEFA's financial standards or whatever. And I think they paid a fine of about 10 million. So in the grand scheme of things, it's pretty good if that's it. But there was also talk about whether they would try and ban Chelsea from Europe. I haven't heard anything else about that. Anyway, let's see what else it says. Obviously, this is when the accounts first come out at the beginning of the month. That's when I went through it. UEFA assessed clubs just over 2 years to the end of last season, allowing a maximum loss in that time of £68 million. Chelsea's pre-tax losses without those asset sales came to 236.9 million. So even with the allowable costs removed, their UEFA PSR loss was around 100 to 120 million, some way shy of compliance. UEFA rules are more stringent than the Premier League's in other respects too, where Premier League clubs voted to limit clubs amortizing transfer fees to 5 years for all the signings made from December 2023 onwards, ostensibly in response to Chelsea handing out lengthy contracts as they splurged on new players. UEFA's same rule impacts signings from July 1st, 2023. So obviously we milked the hell out of that rule while we were not part of UEFA. And now we are obviously bound by those rules. But we were getting past that rule in lots of ways. So that's when we were all laughing when we were still able to sign players. That's when we got Caicedo, for example, etc. That has a material impact on Chelsea, who spent 454.3 million in the summer 2023 transfer window. That sum can be amortized across the full length of player contracts under Premier League rules. Moises Caicedo, for example, signed on an 8-year deal that summer, but only 5 years under UEFA rules. In the case of Caicedo, signed for a base £100 million from Brighton, the difference amounts to an extra 7.5 million being tagged onto the club's UEFA PSR calculation in each of the next 5 seasons. Oh, sorry, maybe I got that wrong then. So I thought we weren't because we weren't part of UEFA. I don't see why that would why Chelsea would be subject to that. That doesn't really make sense for me, but fair enough. So Caicedo's deal is being paid out over 5 years then. What's more is UEFA takes a dim view of clubs, in effect, swapping players for chunky fees. The Premier League saw a state of such deals in June last year, and Chelsea sold academy product Ian Maatsen for 37.5 million to Aston Villa, with Omari Kellerman coming the other way for 90 million. Doing it that way allowed Chelsea to book £90 million extra in player sales profits than a player swap plus cash deal. And while that contributed to their bottom line and their Premier League PSR calculation, UEFA guidelines indicate that they would have been required to revise the profit down. UEFA states sale proceeds on player exchange transactions, a definition the Martz and Kellyman deals appears to meet, are to be measured at the value of the player in the selling club's books. So in Maatsen's case, it's near enough to zero, adjusted for any net cash paid as part of the deals. And in other words, Chelsea were likely to recognise only the difference between the two fees, which was 18.5 million as profit in the UEFA calculation. which makes you think to yourself, maybe it was a bit of a strange thing to get Kellyman in the door anyway, because the profit that you made from Maatsen could have been significantly higher. I mean, I don't know if Villa would have been willing to spend that amount. What was it, 37 million? 37.5 million. I mean, why not just sell Ian Maatsen for, let's just say, 20 million, and then you've got that profit and you don't have a player like Kellyman that you don't need in the first place? I mean, that doesn't make much sense to me. So we didn't really get away with it. I don't know. Just seems a bit strange from a footballing sense, and even from a financial sense. We didn't actually benefit from bringing Kellyman in. Well, Chelsea are already known to be in talks with UEFA over a financial settlement for breaching spending limits. What the club's eventual sanction will look like is unclear. UEFA regulations lay out clear guidelines for financial disciplinary measures when clubs exceed their squad cost ratio rule, which Chelsea look like they might well do in 24-25. But the disallowed sale of the women's team resulted in a breach of the separate football earnings rule, which places limits on clubs' losses. There is little guidance on how UEFA arrive at disciplinary measures for breaches of the football earnings rule. Through recent misdemeanors by others might be instructed, Barcelona were adjudged to have overstated their UEFA PSR position by 267 million euros in 2022, and they were fined $500,000 by the European governing body. So again, if that's what we have to pay, not a huge problem. So let's hope that that's, the extent of the punishment that we could experience if we are going to experience it. Huge operating losses and the sluggish revenue. None of the PSR chicanery of recent years would have been necessary were it not for one underlying fact. Chelsea make enormous operating losses. That's long been the case dating way back into the Abramovich era, but those losses have increased significantly in recent years. Across the past decade, Chelsea have lost 1.291 billion at the operating level, the equivalent of £354,000 every single day for 10 years. £354,000 the club is losing per day, every single day for 10 years. That is mad. Most clubs lose money on the day-to-day, but Chelsea are firmly in a league of their own. The next highest operating losses in the past decade are at Aston Villa and Everton, each of them having almost $500 million less than Chelsea. Can we just look at that number? I mean, that is just mad. Fucking hell. Don Roman bankrolling Chelsea just because he fucking felt like it. We are elite in the sense that, oh, what an owner we had, man. What an owner. Because you knew that he didn't care about losing the money. But what we have now, they are scrambling. How do we make profits? How do we turn this around? How do we change the financial situation at Chelsea? It's not about how do we change the footballing situation. How do we change the financials? Our operating costs in terms of wages went down by whatever it was, 6%. Well, what about getting 6 more points this season than we did last year? Don't you think that would be positive? Don't you think that would help you financially, getting the extra revenue from the Champions League? But no. So there you go. That's where we are. Absolutely. Best Russian alive. Big up to Don Roman. I don't know if I can show you. Am I able to... I've got to show you this as well. I feel like a lot of you have seen this, but I would be rude not to try and share this with you. I would be fucking rude. Oh, yeah. Here we fucking go, people. Have a look at this, lads. The greatest owner in world football. And you know when I met Don Roman? I met him the day after we won the Champions League. So, yes, I did meet Todd Boehly in Austria in the hotel. I met Boehly. And yes, I have met those guys. Not like personally. I just bump into these people. But I met the Don. We were in a restaurant, and basically he was on the other side of a restaurant. There was a big curtain covering where he was sitting, so we would have never known if the waiter hadn't have told us that he was in the restaurant. He had a big book. I don't really know how to describe it. Much bigger book than what we see here. Much bigger than this. But let's just imagine he had this book, and it had different dates on it, and it had different signatures on it with names. I'm talking big names. Pele, Kobe, big names. They weren't in there as well, but I'm just talking from previous days. And then he showed me today's signature, well, that day. And it was Abramovich's signature. So, well, fucking hell, Roman's here. Anyway, Roman left. I ran after him. He was getting into his car. And I didn't shout at him. I don't think I did shout at him. But I was obviously the only one wearing a Chelsea shirt there. I looked at him while he was getting in it was like a sort of van. It wasn't a car, it was a van. You can see in the background there's a guy in a grey hoodie. That's his van. He was getting into the van and he looked at me, and he had his face mask on. And I sort of did this. I was like, can I get a picture with you? And he just took off his face mask, walked up next to me, and literally stood there like that. Didn't say a word. Didn't say a single word. He did it, and then, my dad was also there. And my dad's friends were there. And they tried to get a photo with him as well. So he took a photo with everyone. He took a photo with all of us. There was, I would say, there's about 6 of us. So he took a photo with 6 of us. Me first. He took one with my dad. Then my dad's mate, tried to take the photo with Roman and put his arm round Abramovich's shoulder, in which the bodyguard then responded, slapped his hand out. Roman, at this point, again, was just standing there like he does. Didn't say a word. But you knew at that point, Jesus Christ, this guy is the GOAT. And I've just found a picture of my dad there as well. Great crack. So we were all there. And Roman just stood there, and great bloke. Great bloke. So there you go. Don Roman right there. Amazing experience. So again, let's get back to good fun, mate. Good fun. No, thank you. But I appreciate the offer, Andres. What a kind offer. I'm going to politely decline. Anyway, so our operating losses are 354 grand every single day for 10 years. Chelsea's operating loss has now exceeded 200 million in each of the last 3 seasons. 64 million, 46 million, 53 million, 41 million. Then we had a massive skyrocket up to 135 million, 170, 111 million, 182 million, 224 million, 218 and 213. That's a big jump. That's fucking worrying. Even Don Roman wasn't shedding out that cash. Fucking hell. While operating losses have been a way of life at Stamford Bridge for a long time, they're at least at a level where player sales could potentially turn the bottom line back. In 3 of Abramovich's last 6 years at the helm, Chelsea booked a profit. Yeah, in his final season, saw operating losses zoom over 200 million, where they've remained since. In just 3 seasons, Chelsea have lost 655.7 million, dwarfing player sale profits of 338.6 million in that time, including an English record of 152.5 million last season. It is for that reason that they've had to turn to selling assets to sister companies to reduce losses. Why did Chelsea lose so much money? I'm interested in this. The reasons are varied. Sluggish revenue growth is one. Chelsea's turnover last season was only 25 million, 6% higher than in 2017-18. That is the lowest growth among the big six, with Man City and Arsenal each enjoying over 200 million in revenue increases in the same period. As a result, Chelsea's revenue is now the only of the Premier League, is only the Premier League's 6th highest, down from 4th in 2018. On the international stage, Chelsea's income is the 10th highest in world football. A little over a decade ago, they were 5th. Chelsea's income from Stamford Bridge has been particularly lethargic. Last season's 80.1 million in gate receipts represented a new club record, but the needle has hardly budged in more than a decade. In the 2011-12 Champions League winning season, Chelsea's matchday income was 77.7 million. 12 years on, that figure has grown by just 2.4 million, 3%. Again, like I guess it's all financial, but this is actually a good thing that prices were frozen for 15 years at Stamford Bridge, and fans weren't having to pay vivid seat ticket prices to go to games. Is that not a good thing? But again, we are talking strictly from an accounting perspective, from a financial perspective. So that's what, they're acting like it's negative. It's a positive thing, guys. Like, I know not all of you live in England. England is fucking expensive. So to have ridiculous ticket prices on top of arguably one of the worst countries from a cost of living perspective, we have the highest bills in the world. We have the highest train highest train prices in the world. Like, at least make Chelsea affordable. It's hard enough to go and follow Chelsea and live as it is. So there you go. But that will soon change. And we have already seen, again, it's a new club record. And guess what? Next season, they will make another club record, because the prices will continue to go up and up and up. Anyway, let's continue. Much of that anemic growth owes to Stamford Bridge's low capacity. At a shade over 40,000, Chelsea's home is only the 11th largest in domestic English football, and will drop a spot further this summer when Everton's new stadium at Bramley Moor Dock opens its doors. Moreover, Stamford Bridge actually punches above its weight. Chelsea's matchday income was English 5th highest last season. That low capacity leaves a lot on the table. Chelsea benefit from playing in one of the most affluent areas in London. Without their generous location, gate receipts would be far lower. It stands to reason then that increasing capacity would see matchday income zoom upwards. Per recent UEFA reports, Chelsea's average gate yield per fan, in effect, the per game revenue they generate from each person that passes through a Stamford Bridge turnstile, stood at £63, 3rd in England and 8th in Europe. That pitted them ahead of not only Liverpool and Man City, but Manchester United too. Tellingly, though, they sat a distance behind that of fellow London clubs Arsenal and Tottenham. So where the average fan brings in £89 and £84. That reflects on the new stadium, on how a new stadium can not only improve finances through extra bums on seats, but through egging out greater sums by offering a more premium experience too. I don't see how you get a more premium experience by having a bigger stadium. I think that makes the experience worse. You're further away from the pitch. You've got bigger crowds. You've got bigger queues. If anything, it makes the experience worse. Any match-going fan will agree with me on that. If you're in a smaller stadium, generally, you'll have a good experience. Now, there are exceptions like Crystal Palace, where it's quite a nasty away day, but Bournemouth is fantastic. Leicester's a great away day. Ipswich was good fun. You know, those aren't massive stadiums. They're pretty small. And I feel like Stamford Bridge is quite similar. It's a very unique perspective as a football fan to be able to go and watch your team in a pretty small stadium compared to, let's just say, Old Trafford, which is a terrible experience compared to Stamford Bridge. So I don't really know what he means when they say premium experiences. I guess he's probably leaning along the lines of hospitality, and that's why they can charge high ticket prices. Spurs offer a good comparison point for Chelsea's poor revenue growth. As recently as 2016, Chelsea out-earned their London rivals by 119.4 million. 8 years on, Spurs' turnover last season was 59.7 million higher than Chelsea's in a season where neither side played in Europe. Spurs' new stadium has seen them inevitably zip by Chelsea in terms of the gate receipts, but out of a greater concern to Chelsea will be how the clubs now fare commercially. Spurs' commercial revenues have topped Chelsea's in each of the last 3 seasons, with the gap growing to 19.5 million in 22-23. The likelihood is the gap has widened since Chelsea have previously sought 60 million in annual front of shirt sponsorship, a sum not forthcoming without Champions League football. Rather than sell marketing space off for cheaper, they have gone the full season so far without a primary sponsor. Last season saw them bleakly bank 43 million from a single year deal with Infinite Athlete. So 24-25 has witnessed a sizable drop on that front. Chelsea currently lead Arsenal commercially, but expect roles to reverse this season. Boosting commercial income is on the hit list for most club owners, and while Chelsea are no different, it's also clear that they need to improve on the field too if they are to maximise their earning potential. Broadcasting income fell 28% to 163.1 million last season as the reality of no Champions League football bit. That was scarcely above the 162.4 million earned back in 2017. In the past 2 seasons, Chelsea's Premier League prize money totals 296.9 million. 7 teams have earned more, with Man City taking 55.2 million, 19% higher at the time. Chelsea are hardly paupers domestically. No Premier League team is nowadays, but there's a clear financial advantage in finishing higher up the table. What's more, broadcasters' appetites for showing the clubs have seemingly waned. Across the last 2 seasons, Chelsea was selected for live broadcast 49 times, the lowest of the big 6, and 10 games fewer than Arsenal. For games up to the 5th of May this season, Chelsea trail 5 teams in terms of the live TV selections. Well, there's no surprise in that. We've been pretty shite to watch. So, I mean, that doesn't really surprise me. And again, that's a generalization since, Potter, Lampard, Poch, Maresca as a whole. It's been nothing like what we had before. So, I mean, there's no surprise that broadcasters aren't as interested in Chelsea because we're not winning as much. Where's the wage bill at? A common theme since the change of ownership at Stamford Bridge has been reported a reported nosedive in the club's wage bill. On the face of it, little has changed. The club's wage bill was 338 million in 23-24, just 2.2 million below what it was in 21-22, and still the Premier League's 4th highest as it was in 21-22. In between, it leapt to 404 million, making them only one of only 2 English clubs to exceed 400 million in staff costs in a single season. Jesus Christ. That's a lot of money on staff costs. That doesn't quite tell the whole story. That 404 million included the costs of removing Thomas Tuchel and Graham Potter, along with their assorted staff. Chelsea used to show such costs separately. Similarly, last season's 338 included the money spent on Pochettino's departure. Chelsea's wage bill also accounts for all staff wages, and the club are big employers. Administrative staff leapt from 646 to 773 last season, making them the third largest employer in English football, only a hair behind Manchester United and Liverpool. Based on some past UEFA reports, Chelsea's player wages generally made up 80% of their overall wage bill. Given the club's uptick in non-playing staff, we can probably reduce that to that proportion. Doing so gets you an estimated playing wage bill of around 250 million, which would comprise a fall since the takeover. One of those UEFA reports had the 21-22 playing wage bill at 274 million, so a drop of about 25. Season 23-24 also saw it reduced relative to revenue, even though the revenue fell 9%. Chelsea wages to turnover was 72% last season, down from 79% a year earlier. Stripping out the estimated costs of removing Pochettino from his post reduces it to a further 70%, though that would still only be the 12th best in the Premier League. What's more, Chelsea's wages to revenue is comfortably the worst of the Big Six, a matter not helped by a lack of Champions League income. Chelsea wages to revenue ratio improved 7%, but is still the worst of the Premier League's Big Six. Tottenham spend 42% of their revenue on wages. Luton spent 43% last season. Sheffield 46%, Arsenal 53%. United 55%, Brighton 56%. Where the fuck is the 10% wages coming from then that I've heard about Brighton? What a load of nonsense. Let me go back. City 57, West Ham 59, Liverpool 62, Newcastle 68, Brentford 68, Palace 70, Chelsea 72, Aston Villa 91%, Forest 87. Significant investment in those teams. And then you can see why Bournemouth and Fulham have been doing well. These are teams that are willing to take serious risks to push up the table. Fucking hell. So 72%. And when you look at City on 57, it makes you think that we're not very efficient with our money. Because what they get for spending 57% of their wages and what we get for spending 72% of ours, it's night and day. There's a mosquito. Goodness gracious, guys. This is a fucking lengthy article. Can I just say that? Yes, don't forget the brown envelope costs, of course. Ugh. Guys, smash the like button. I'm hustling here. I am struggling. Smash that like button. This is nothing. Let's do it. Woo! As a related aside, another through line from Abramovich to the current ownership concerns getting rid of managers and incurring high costs to do so. Last season's removal of Pochettino and staff is believed to have cost in the region of £10 million on the back of a similar amount going to Tuchel and a further 13 million going to Potter in 2023. Sacking Conte in July 2018 cost Abramovich 26.6 million, and in total, Chelsea have spent an estimated 129 million on removing managers from their dugout since 2008. That's without including the price of recruiting them in the first place. Potter cost a reported 21 million from Brighton, while prizing Maresca from Leicester cost Chelsea £10 million. Can you fucking believe that? We spent 10 million on Maresca. What are we doing? Come on. 10 million. God. Fucking hell. Continued reliance on player trading. If Chelsea's business model under Abramovich was propelled by player trading, it has been turbocharged since. In the past 2 seasons, no club has spent more on new players and no club has received more from player sales. From the beginning of July 2022 to the end of June 2024, Chelsea spent 1.297 billion on 32 new signings. Going the other way, they recouped 389.6 million through selling 21 players for fees, for a net spend of only 908.3 million. More than double the next highest net spend in that time was Arsenal's 419.6. The hardly surprising byproduct of all of this activity is Chelsea's now boast the most expensively assembled squad in world football by far. At the end of last season, their squad sat at 1.437 billion. The next highest was Man City, whose own hardly cheap squad was bought for 1.110 billion, over 300 million behind Chelsea. That sum, that's the sums put down at Stamford Bridge under Clearlake and Boehly are staggering. In their first year under new ownership, Chelsea spent 745.2 million on new players, a new single season record for one club and more than double the previous high, which was Man City's 328.1 million in 2017-18. Chelsea's 552.7 million spend in 23-24 was nearly 200 million down on that first season under Clearlake and Boehly, still yet far beyond what any other club, English or otherwise, has ever dispensed with on players. Even PSG's own startling 2017-18 season, when they bought Neymar and Mbappe, set them back 356 million pounds in transfer fees. Nothing compared to fucking hell, 742.5 million in the first year. Can you imagine? It's not just transfer fees where Chelsea have spent heavily in recent years. Correspondingly, agents have taken their share of the spoils too. In data released by the FA last year, Chelsea was confirmed as the biggest spenders on agent fees for the second year running, albeit their outlay did drop from 75 million to 60 million. Across 3 seasons of new ownership, Chelsea have spent 178.7 million on agent fees alone. I mean, that is just ridiculous. To try and offset their huge spend, Chelsea have retained their position as arguably the best-selling club in England. That moniker was underlined last season, where the club's 152.5 million profit on player sales set a new English record, eclipsing Chelsea's own mark of 142.6 million in 1920. Of course, that did include the almost pure profit earned on the 37.5 million sale of Maatsen. When they say almost pure profit, they're talking about the 90, I think it was 18.5 million, because we got Kellyman back and the Premier League said you can't take 37 million because this is a deal that was only done for profit. So they said you've got to cut out the fee that you receive. So that's why it's 18 million, not 37. But even without that, they would have topped 100 million in player profits for the third time in 5 years. Chelsea's profit from player trading dwarfs all domestic rivals over the last decade. The last 10 years combined profits on player sales, Chelsea have 842 million, Man City 583. I mean, we're way ahead of everyone else. Chelsea's 843.8 million in player sale profits soars above all other clubs over the past decade. With only Man City otherwise clearing the £500 million mark, it's difficult to see how Chelsea can move away from their player trading model anytime soon. For as long as the operating losses persist at such high levels, they'll have to sell strongly to boost the bottom line. How's the 1.7 billion investment coming along? Fucking hell. I mean, I'll ask you that in the chat. How do you think the money's been spent? Buy and sell FC. Yes, that's fair, isn't it? Alex, that net spend shows an increase of 10 players. If yes, then of course the spend will be more. And I do correctly understand the net spend ignores loan fees. I think it was an increase in 10 players. How many players was it? I have no idea where that is. Fuck knows, mate. Yeah, they said, what was it? Yeah, I think it was 10 players. Yes. Obviously, we sold some players as well. And we absolutely scammed United with Mount. And it was great business getting rid of Kai Havertz as well. The worst stadium that I've ever visited as a Chelsea fan. That's a great question. The worst. The worst stadium in terms of match day experience within the stadium is West Ham. The worst away day in terms of match day experience, in my opinion, is Brighton. I despise Brighton away. Hate going to Brighton. Terrible trains, big queues, shit kickoff times. It's just crap. I hate going to Brighton. Luton's all right. It's like a privilege to go to Luton, isn't it? It's different. So I wouldn't sit here and say Luton's rubbish. It's actually quite fun. Much more pleasant than West Ham. My God. As we've seen, Stamford Bridge is restraining matchday income currently, and Chelsea have already identified Earls Court as a potential destination if they are to move to a new stadium. The Lily Bridge Depot, a little over a mile from the club's current home, has been earmarked as a spot in which a new ground could be built, with plans for development there already drawn up, but the club has still yet to submit a formal bid for the site, meaning little progress to date. A point of tension between Boehly and Clearlake. In a recent Bloomberg interview, Boehly was frank in admitting that without alignment on stadium plans, that's going to be where we ultimately decide to go our different ways. The matter is made of all the more pressing by a competing proposal at Earls Court. The ECDC, which is the Earls Court Development Company, has already completed a formal public consultation on its new proposed 10 billion redevelopment, including 4,000 new homes, offices, shops, restaurants, and a park, but no football stadium, and submitted planning applications to the two relevant local councils. A decision is expected sometime in 2025. Chelsea can still bid for the land, but the crux of the matter is clear. If they want to move to Earls Court, they need to get a move on with their plans. While the stadium project remains bogged down, there are some signs of life elsewhere. A stated aim of the club president and chief operating officer, Jason Gannon, upon his promotion last September, was an upgrade to the club's Cobham. What? One of the aims of Jason Gannon was to upgrade Cobham's training facility. Chelsea have been based at Cobham for 2 decades, and an improvement is required to bring the club's facilities in line with the world-class standards found elsewhere. Can Chelsea keep signing players? The answer is a firm yes. In fact, they're already doing it. 167.8 million went on new players last summer before they recently committed to spending more than 60 million on Giovanni Quenda and Dario Asugo. As we've seen from a Premier League perspective, Chelsea have had no issues whatsoever when it comes to spending even more than this coming summer. The UEFA picture is less clear. Through a financial penalty, it is unlikely to bother Chelsea at this stage. That might change if sporting sanctions loomed in the future. In terms of whether any outstanding debts where it may hinder them, Chelsea, unlike most clubs, don't disclose their transfer debts and receivables, but there's little hiding the big sums in play. The club's trade creditors are balanced within the amounts they owe to other clubs on transfer fees are included, and that totals up to 553.6 million at the end of last June. The bulk of that is likely transfer fees. A check against some fellow Big Six clubs in 23-24 showed transfer fees accounting for the average of 92% of those clubs' trade creditor balances due within a year, while balances owed in over a year tended to relate solely to transfer fees. A lot of fucking words there, guys. A lot of words. Jesus. We know that there's a lot of debt. Yes. So we owe other clubs over $500 million in transfer fees. Interesting. Applying that as an estimate to Chelsea leaves them owing a whopping $527.7 million in outstanding fees, comfortably the most in the Premier League. Spurs trail a long way behind in second, owing $337.4 million. That's a little bit of a surprise, but perhaps more interesting is the club's net position on transfer fees. Chelsea's continued presence as strong sellers means they're owed a sizable chunk in transfer fee installments. Chelsea's trade receivables were $291.1 million at the end of June 2024. Based on the proportions seen at Manchester United and Arsenal, we can estimate around $262 million of that related to transfer fees owed to Chelsea. That is, again, a league high, by the way. So that's nice. So we owe a lot of money, but we're also owed a lot of money. $262 million is owed in transfer fees to Chelsea. That's an estimate, which is... yeah, that's great. That's a positive, I guess. That's something if we're trying to find positives here. On a net basis, our estimate leaves Chelsea with a net transfer fee payables of $265.7 million. That's a huge sum, but it's actually only the third highest in England. For all Chelsea have spent enormously in recent years, they've kept their net transfer liabilities in line with several of their peers, both by spending a significant chunk in upfront cash payments, which is cash spent on new players, that was $1.334 billion over the past two seasons, with Arsenal the next highest on $432 million, which is $900 million less, and by generating strong transfer income. Jesus, man. Oh my God. Large upfront payments and strong player sales have kept Chelsea's transfer debt in line with peers. So let's just be very clear. This is net transfer fees receivable and payable. So is this what we're owed or what we pay? Just to be clear. Fucking hell. A lot of money, guys. It's really interesting stuff. Hard to get your head around as well if you don't understand the finances. Owed. Thank you. My head is hurting a little bit. My head is hurting. Cash flows don't affect PSR, and PSR interest payments do. I am absolutely looking forward to today, Leeds. Great away day. Best atmosphere in the Premier League, by the way, when they were there. Better than Liverpool. Everyone talks about Anfield. I'm telling you, Leeds have a better atmosphere than Liverpool. Better fucking atmosphere. It was the best atmosphere I've ever experienced. When they beat us 3-0 and Jesse Marsh was the manager and Tuchel was still at the club, I was there. I've never experienced an atmosphere like that. The whole stadium was just roaring. in brackets means negatives, so should be we owe. But what's more important is if we pay interest and how much. Wait, so you're saying so we owe 265 million. Big Tips Lover says that's what we're owed. Come on, people, help me out here. Are we owed 265 million or are we paying out 265? Is that what we owe other teams? Sometimes it's better to buy a higher cost but spread over multiple years. Oh, definitely. 100%. That's what a mortgage is, isn't it? That's what people do with houses all the time. So I appreciate that. Yeah. So okay, so I guess this is sort of this is net. Okay. Receivable. Yes. This is what Chelsea are owed. I see. I'm sorry. I see. So fucking hell, that's pretty good. In the grand scheme of things, that's pretty good. Okay. Ready available cash has hardly been a problem for Chelsea, with Boehly and Clearlake providing 795.2 million in funding across their first 2 seasons in charge. That is the most of any club by a long way, and there is really a little sign of the well drying up anytime soon. Chelsea received significantly more funding from their owners than any other club in the last 2 seasons. If you look at what Villa, Newcastle, all these other teams have received, and then look at Chelsea, we are just way ahead. Chelsea would make huge losses, and there are elements. Where was I? Of those losses, the owners would surely like to improve quickly. Champions League football and a front of shirt sponsor, but the excess has not been by accident. And as The Athletic recently explained, there is neither a shortage of funding behind the owners, nor is there any sign yet of that funding having to be serviced by the club. If Abramovich was English football's first ultra-wealthy benefactor, his successors have simply carried on the trend he started. Chelsea have received over 2 billion in owner funding since Roman Abramovich's 2003 takeover. If you look at it over the years, it's 171 million in funding, 161 million. I mean, it went down significantly in these years, up again. We made profit in 16-17, and then the numbers are just extortionate. I mean, Jesus, man. What does the future hold? In the short term, a return to Champions League football is a necessity. England now boasts a glut of clubs whose spending is so large they need the revenue from UEFA's Premier League competition to keep day-to-day losses under control. Chelsea are one of them. Even winning the Conference League this season would only earn Chelsea a little over the 18.6 million clubs received just for reaching the Champions League 36-team league phase. The club has earned 613.9 million euros, almost over £500 million, from UEFA competitions in the past decade. One saving grace this season comes in the guise of FIFA's Club World Cup, which Chelsea are expected to bank around 23 million just for showing up in the tournament. I thought it was 38 million, so 23 seems lower than I expected. In the US this year, this could earn about 90 million if they win the tournament. That will be split across the current accounting period and next, but progression to the quarterfinal stage would book a projected 44 million in extra broadcast income in their 24-25 accounts, though going to America will bring added costs too. Chelsea have shown a desire to buck the trend of wage inflation seen elsewhere, though it's a fact of life that big clubs still need to pay big money, with player amortization, with a player amortization bill still not far shy of 200 million. Expect another huge operating loss this season, even with added income from FIFA's latest money spinner. Chelsea's profit on player sales this season is just £28 million, over 120 million down on a year ago. Combine that with a lack of another women's team's sale, and it's clear from the current vantage point, Chelsea will be swinging back to a huge pre-tax loss in 24-25. In the longer run, there's also a bigger question at stake. What do Chelsea's owners want out of this? Come on, people. Get the emojis in there. Show me the money. I want to see the pound notes in the chat. I want to see the dollar signs. I want to see the money. Show me money in the chat. If you don't think the owners want money, then don't put money in the chat. But let me give you a minute to just react a little bit. Show me the pound notes. I want to see the bags of money. Show me the greens. I'm not talking about trees to help the environment. I am talking about pound notes. There you go. Fair enough. Anyway, let's continue. So again, it's where the fuck is it? Okay, well, what did Chelsea's owners want out of this? To date, Clearlake and Boehly's consortium have spent £2.5 billion on buying the club and injected a further £795.2 million into running it. If we assume the £1.75 billion commitment was in respect of infrastructure and not player transfers, then consequently they've hardly made a dent in the figure. We're already at a total commitment of over £5 billion. The loans they've taken on to fund things also exceed that of near £800 million injected so far, and all of this is without considering the hefty payment in kind interest, which is what we call a PIK loan. Okay, very important that you know this is we're gonna I think they're gonna talk about what's it called? Where's my notes? Where is my notes? What's it called? Ares Capital. That is a PIK loan, okay? Oh, goodness. Do I have anything else about PIK loans on here? PIK loans basically means that I think it's what we call subordinated debt. So the money doesn't get paid year on year. It gets paid at the end of a term. So in Chelsea's case, I thought it was 2033, but I read when we saw the accounts before it could be paid by 2027 or 2028, which means there's a huge amount of interest that gets added up. Let's just imagine that it was, 500 million or something. Let's just say 500 million, because that was the example that I have. By 2033, 500 million, the interest paying everything back is 1.7 billion. So it's huge. It's a huge sum. So it's really important that you understand that that's just not a regular loan from the bank. That's a totally different type of, So they're talking about the interest is a chunk of the borrowing is accruing. The desire with private equity funds is usually to make a profit on exit. How Chelsea owners might do that, if they ever decide to, is unclear. One path to profit might come to terms of media rights, more specifically a shift away from the existing model where Premier League TV money is shared equitably, at least relative to certain leagues abroad. Among the 20 competing teams, soon after Boehly took a stake in the LA Dodgers, the team announced an $8.35 billion 25-year TV deal with Time Warner, the biggest such deal in the MLB, where teams are able to sell their rights individually. But the parity offered by the Premier League is one of the reasons the league is so popular. And that equitable split is why investors have been keener to invest in English clubs than abroad. Upending that might not be all that beneficial in the long run. Instead of just grabbing a bigger slice of the pie, there's a good chance the owners believe TV rights still have room to grow. That could come via smaller shifts within the existing model. For example, more kickoff times might be employed to enable more game times to be televised, more games to be televised. One of the great successes of cricket's Indian Premier League, where per game TV rights exceed those of Premier League football, is that only one match takes place at a time, focusing all eyes on one spot. Revenue growth is an undoubted goal of Chelsea's owners, just as it is elsewhere. There are doubtless various areas where they feel the club has yet to tap, not least in terms of a new or improved stadium. Less hyped, but similar importance to increasing clubs' values is controlling costs, a goal which belatedly clubs are moving towards. Limiting expenditure is an obvious goal of UEFA's squad cost ratio rule, and Chelsea have repeatedly spoken of their desire to reduce wages. The NFL salary cap is one of the key reasons behind its team's lofty valuations. While no such hard cap is imminent in English football, refining in wages is at least relative to income, which would boost asset values. While the investment of Chelsea's new owners might already look huge to many, the likelihood is those in charge don't agree. More probable is that they view Chelsea and football clubs in general as still operating at well below their potential, even in the existing framework. The English Premier League is a truly global product, and live sport is widely viewed as recession-proof, so long as the product on offer remains entertaining and sufficiently unpredictable. Whatever the future holds, Chelsea's recent off-field history has been tumultuous. Another busy transfer summer looks likely, yet without an improvement on the field, the project undertaken since 2022 will struggle. In the 20 years prior to Clearlake and Boehly's arrival, Chelsea finished outside the top five just twice. They've matched that tally already under the new ownership, with a Champions League spot at stake and increasingly necessary if club finances are to improve. Both fans and owners alike will be hoping that they don't make it 3 in a row next month. We did it. There you go. So that was the article. That was a long fuck. Oh, that was long. Usually the shows are about an hour. Gone for 2 hours almost. So happy to do it. Happy to do it. Ooh. Okay. A bit off topic. Who do you think will sign in the summer? Winger, striker, and a centre back. By the way, what a great article. Like, very hard to get your head around, but so much information. It's great to see. You can dissect so much. You can learn so much about our situation reading that. Winger, striker, and centre back. Well, my first choice is as a striker would be Victor Osimhen. That would be my first choice. Realistically, I think we'll get the lap. Winger, Esteval will probably come in. So I'm not sure if we will sign another winger. We'll see. I think we need 2 centre backs. Jonathan Tah is an option. He's run down his contract at Bayern Leverkusen. I know we were looking at Van Dijk. Apparently, that was a realistic signing. Jonathan Tah would make sense, though. He's actually a decent player. And Petrovic is going to come back. Yeah, I mean, I don't really have too much to say about transfers. I need to look into it more. My brain's a bit fried after that, to be honest. Do I think we have the cojones to get top 5? No, not really. But we'll see what happens. We'll see. Anything can happen. who made the article? It was it's on The Athletic. So if you subscribe to The Athletic, and the article was written by a brand new writer who is The Athletic's first dedicated football finance writer. His name is Chris Weatherspoon. So that's the name of the guy, Chris Weatherspoon, and it's from The Athletic. Yes, that's the one. I am actually subscribed to them, so that's why I'm able to read the article. I only pay £2 a month. It's a great deal. I'm not paying £10 a month for that. Fuck that. But £2 a month, I can live with that. Yes, I do think that was a good transfer. Who knows? We'll see with Mudryk. I would love him to come back. I would absolutely be up for Delap and Jonathan David as well, but I don't know if we'll do both of those deals. Appreciate that. Thank you very much, mate. I'm on the 0% at the moment. Really cutting down on my drinking. Not because I need to, just because I want to. Don't even know if you can do that. All they want is money. They buy young players so they can sell and make a profit. They should buy experienced players if they want to win trophies. You're absolutely right there, mate. Absolutely right. Listen, guys, appreciate your time. We've got 116 of you in the building. If we don't have at least 116 likes, what are we doing here? Especially if you've been watching for the whole stream. Just smash the like button. Doesn't cost anything. I appreciate it. And enjoy the rest of your evening, guys. It's been a pleasure. I've enjoyed going through that with you. Tomorrow, I will be doing the lunch show at 1 p.m. And we'll be talking about all the latest Chelsea news then. This was specifically on the financials. We'll dive more into the footballing side tomorrow at lunch. And then we will also have another evening show, which I may jump on, potentially if I can. So listen, guys, enjoy the rest of your evening. Appreciate your time. And we will catch up